Judy, just to let you know, I didn't put you on the agenda because I was trying to contact you to confirm that you'd be able to talk, so I don't know if you want to just come back to the October meeting for a dedicated spot on the agenda, or what do you prefer?
No, that's fine. I had jumped onto the land use subcommittee last night and Sean had mentioned it, but that's fine. October is right around the corner.
Okay, what is your email address?
jgreen@wakefield.ma.us.
Okay, great. So I'll send you an email on when the next meeting is, and we'll put you on the agenda for that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you remember Melissa? You met Melissa. We're just finishing up dinner. All right.
Okay, going to call the meeting to order at 7:01. I know that Robin is going to be late, so does somebody want to volunteer to take some notes?
I can do that.
Thanks, Myra.
Sure.
Don't think we have any public participation, it looks like. So let me share the agenda. So hopefully you had a chance to look at the minutes from July and August, so that we can approve them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Second? Yeah, second.
So just going around, Tiana,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Julie,
Yes,
Myra,
I abstain because I missed both meetings.
Sean,
yes,
Dan. Oh, Dan, you're on mute. Dan, can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. All right, minutes are approved for July and August. Thank you. So next item, number 4, I did some work with the town council, otherwise known as the town lawyer, on the policy, our policy update for adding the volunteers. And so he did approve the change. Not the one that we had done before, but a new one, basically. You probably can't see this, right?
we're seeing the agenda.
Let's switch to the other. So his recommendation was to add basically a new section on volunteers instead of adding it to other sections we already had in here. So this new section is called volunteer assistance. And it says the committee anticipates that it'll be assisted from time to time in carrying out its projects by volunteers whose input will be valued, but who will not themselves serve as members of the committee. The committee will solicit such volunteer assistance from members of the general public, and in doing so shall aim to reflect the diversity of the town of Wakefield. So,
Now, Melissa, does that mean that it's just Wakefield residents or could be anybody?
so members of the general public,
Okay, fine.
could be anybody.
All right, so we need to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Anybody have questions, comments?
yeah,
I think we're just missing a final period there. I like it. I mean, besides the fact that it's town lawyer approved, seems to hit the right notes, and separating it from the appointments and terms part, I think, resolves some of the things that we were wrapping our heads around last time, so.
Yep. Okay, so motion to approve this change to our policy.
Second.
A motion, yep, yes.
I second.
All right. Go around again. Tiana,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Myra,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Dan.
Yes,
All right. We are all set then with the update to our policy. And we can start with the volunteer program.
okay, so what I will do before the next meeting is I will put together, kind of a general statement that we can put up, on our website, as well as maybe the town website, I don't know. And then I will put together a form letter that we would send out to people who show interest in this, giving them an idea of what we are and what their roles will be and so forth. And then we can take a look at all of that and make comments on it in the next meeting.
in terms of
Yeah, I
what,
mean, go ahead.
sorry, I didn't, you can go.
I was just gonna say, I mean, ideally, we would kind of have some sort of sign up at the tabling that we're gonna be doing in the coming months. So I think with that, we could probably just have like a sign up sheet, some sort of blurb about what would be involved.
I think recruiting volunteers at the table is great, but Tiana, I know has some activities underway already with the community education thing about general outreach. So I think that we should be tying into some of the things that we're going to be doing there already. So hopefully that'll be reaching an audience that can help reinforce the other things. So
Yeah, we can absolutely post for volunteers.
Okay. So, Dan, I don't know if you're able to set up a sign up sheet and like a blurb for the tabling coming up for this. Is that possible?
Yeah, and I will coordinate with Tiana as well. And maybe we should put something up as well on the table that we're going to have at the farmer's market.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right. Going back to the agenda. Yeah, so the next item is talking about the tabling. So hopefully all of you are aware of the town day that was just recently announced for the Saturday of Columbus Day weekend. And so unfortunately it's a back-to-back weekend, so we're tabling. We're already tabling at the farmer's market October 1st. I think we can't really pass up this opportunity for town day. So hopefully we can get, as many people from this group to help out with one or both of those tabling events. So I guess the other thing is basically the signage that we want to put together, and Dan has volunteered to develop that signage. She has experience with doing so, and I just wanted to talk about what we wanted to put on that signage. I had developed some pretty basic signs for the recycling event that we did in May. So we can take a look at those and see if we want to do something similar or not. Anybody have ideas?
So just a quick one. What are the dates for the town day and for the table at the farmers markets?
Farmers Market's October 1st, Town Day is October 8th, both Saturdays.
And is the town day the same or different than the new Wakefield residents event that's I think it's at the Americal, but sort of
It's different.
by the library?
Yeah, it's on the Wakefield 101's on the 20th. I was gonna actually bring that up to say that there's probably another event that we should have a table at.
Yeah, and that one might have different information. That one, I think we could partner with DPW and talk about the compost program and some other things that people might want to sign up for. I think volunteers would be great too, and sort of a public awareness, but I think that we haven't done that. You know, Gianna, you're gonna feel like you missed out, maybe like since you've lived here in Wakefield. But I think it is fun. It's like a bunch of organizations get together and sort of the idea is to provide information to newer residents of town.
That's
Love it.
September,
October 20th.
October 20th.
6 hold on, I have it in my calendar here. Oh, 6 to 7:30 at the Americal.
Six, 7:30.
That's Wakefield 101, right? Yeah.
Correct, Wakefield 101.
Yeah.
And what are the times for the town day on the 8th?
I think it's 1 to 4.
I've got it up here. I just had it here. Town day 1 to 4, yeah. I wonder whether we shouldn't just, I mean, have a table, but maybe also kind of be the place where people, now I don't know how much activity is going to be, but where people could trash and recycle and compost. Like if we could, our table could be kind of where people bring their waste, like to start to show what a zero waste event could look like. I don't know how, I mean, I don't know how much activity is going to be out there. There's going to be a beer garden. And people might be bringing picnics and stuff. I mean, maybe our table is also, I was just looking for the picture online and it's got a missed link, but maybe we could set up the three different bins and signage. And people could, we could be the trash receptacle. Very, very, very exciting, I know.
I also, I mean, we met yesterday as the land use subcommittee, which I know Sean will report on. But I think that there were some ideas that coming out there about sort of soliciting feedback or trying to build awareness about how people use our green space. And so that also might be, the first time we did, like when we were a brand new committee and we went to the Festival on the Lake, we did like like vote with puffballs or something. And that seemed to kids especially liked it. But I think other people, it sort of drew people in, and we had like a big map of all of our, like the town assets. And I think the master planning committee has sort of resurfaced some of those maps. And so that might be, I know DPW had one, we could talk about that. But I don't know if we want to show, I mean, I don't want to like overcomplicate that our purview is so wide that we can become so disparate in our messaging that some things can get lost. So I don't want that to happen either.
I like that idea. I don't think actually we have to be the trap. Maybe we just go to the town and say we need those 3 different kinds of bins set up there. I don't think we necessarily have to be the ones manning them.
But we could certainly
that would leave some space for the map and for other really important things.
We can at least make sure that there's good signage on the
Exactly.
recycle and compost bins.
Exactly.
Could we borrow the Boys and Girls Club, like giant composting bin?
Yeah, I mean that's a town bin. So yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, I think we could have that, and then we could have just recycling and just regular trash is already there. And we could spend some money on just good signage or ask for good signage to be there.
And maybe one of the things we put is just ask the DPW, I don't know what sort of relationship we have with Black Earth for special events. I know sometimes the contracts the Black Earth will help host 1 or 2 events and, service a bin following the event. So it's something I'll send over to Ann or Joe.
Yep. I think if Black Earth wanted to be there, we could probably get them in as a for-profit. They're not based in Wakefield, but they're certainly servicing Wakefield.
Yeah, I mean, they have a table there, planning to do a
Mhm.
table there.
Right. Because it's 6-foot table and tablecloth, so it's not a lot of room, I imagine.
From an education standpoint, I'd certainly want like the, follow us on Facebook, like link to our page kind of thing. QR code to our page. Just the more people are following it, the more useful any of our posts will be.
Oh, that's good.
The signs that I put together for the recycling event. So I just made a basic sign for our committee, the town logo, and then this was to gather ideas from people. I just had like little scraps of paper that people would fill out their ideas and put them in a jar.
Melissa, what happened to the ideas that went into that jar? It just occurred to me that I don't know. Did we actually?
Most of them were like, I want to do this plastics collection again. And,
Got it.
things
Sorry,
like
but
that.
you went through it and like divvied the ideas out to relevant people or subcommittees.
Yeah, I mean, I have them right here. I look at them again, but I think most of them we're addressing, but I can double check.
Okay.
So this was on the plastics bylaw, just basic information. Polystyrene bylaw, basic information. Curbside composting, we'll have to update this number of households and tons of waste, and how you can sign up. Community garden, I basically signs just to highlight all the different sustainability initiatives that we have going on in town. So community garden is one of them, and electric car charging. Yeah, those are basically all it. Chris?
I would just change the free, they're not free charger.
We have 4 free ones, I believe.
They're not free.
They're not free. We have 4. So
I thought they were free.
no, there's a
We have
charge.
20, we don't have, we're the 25 public charging stations.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I got this.
There might be,
Numbers.
but they're probably over at the I mean, you're probably right. They're just probably not public. Or they're public for like people using the buildings.
Yeah, like you're
Which is
talking
public.
like Shaw's.
Yeah. Sure. Or
Hold on.
there, I think there's a lot over at Edgewater.
Yeah, hold on. Let me.
I think I found it on that charging station website
Yeah.
for.
But we have so many things, it might be worth just a poster that lists everything, and then people can say, oh, the charging stations where? Like, I think between everybody who's there will probably know about the different things. I can't be at the 1st, but I can be at the 8th, but I have easels and a lot of stuff. I have like a kind of a whole kit put together, so I'll just get that to whoever needs it for the 1st.
I would say just on the 4 free public, and it's actually 5, I mean, it's 5 spots. I would say 5 town and soon to be 6, 7, 8. But put 5, Wakefield's, town of Wakefield's public charging stations. So that the town owns them, and 3 more will be coming online.
Chris?
Yeah, I had a question, Melissa. When you showed the number of compost customers, do we know
This is an old number.
okay, is there like another threshold for Black Earth that we're coming up on, or
500.
Yeah,
500?
500.
Yeah,
As of
I'm-
last week,
It's
we
not
were at like
rising as fast as you would think. I think we're just over 400. I mean, anybody who's a Black Earth customer
406.
can log in and see where we are. On like on the, the participant panel, and it's just over 400, I think.
Yeah, I did a post about it last week. I think it was 406 and 180 pounds, maybe.
yeah, it might just be encouraging to people to think about signing up if they sort of see like a little progress bar of, where we are and what the next threshold number is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something to put on here. I like that idea. It's like, put whatever the current number is, put a little bar, or, when we reach 500, it drops, or something to help us reach 500 to that extent.
So Dan, you said you have all the materials for the signs already, or I guess how?
Yeah, so I can do up to 13 by 19 inch. And they would be mounted on a 1/4 inch foam board, and then anchored with a base so that they wouldn't blow over. And these, again, these can be reused at any event per se. So if anybody has any ideas about what we want to kind of, talk about, or let the public know about what we're doing and so forth and so on, beyond what Melissa has done here, which is really good. I think that we should think about that, and don't necessarily have to do it right now, but just send Melissa the information, and then she can massage it and then give me the information for copy, and then I'll make the signs. Our next meeting is going to be after the October 1st farmers market.
Yeah.
But this is not anything that's, this is just signage talking about what we are and what we do. So I don't think it needs an approval or anything else like that, but I can
No.
certainly, email everybody with what's going on and what it looks like for comments.
Okay, and is there, like, how are you making these signs? Is there a cost associated, or?
There's no cost.
Okay. So you have all the equipment and everything?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for offering to make them.
Yeah, it's great. One other question I have is, I feel like there's a couple other sort of town efforts going on that are related to the work that the ESC is doing. One is the open space planning, open space committee, and the other is in master planning. I think the next topic has to do with I think sustainability and environmental risks or something like that. I should know since I'm on that committee. And so I guess one question would be, do we want to reach out to those leaders of those committees? And because this time is gonna, I don't know if open space committee is soliciting public feedback yet, but it's always hard to get people's attention for these kinds of things. And so I'm wondering if we should be liaising with them a little bit on sharing these opportunities to talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming at Town Day, the Conservation Commission will be there. Because it's for, the town committees and departments to table at. But yeah, I mean, we can definitely, spread the word.
I don't know if they've historically been there.
Well, we have.
Maybe, I don't know.
before, have we?
It's the first time we're doing it. It's kind of hard to know who's
Oh.
gonna be there.
I thought it was like the replacement of like the Festival on the Lake.
It is with no, it's
I
not
don't
a
think
replacement
so.
for Festival on the Lake. It's kind of instead of the holiday stroll, I think, but that was never a community tabling event. This is really the first of its kind.
Okay,
So
Yeah, I mean, I thought the town day was to go along with the whole shop local campaign.
it is. Last year we did the we did the Idle Hands Oktoberfest. It's kind of like that, but adding the tabling and a bit of the downtown. There's been a lot of this whole visioning has been we want more town events. And so the organizations that used to do it kind of have just disbanded during COVID. So the town's trying to put some things together.
the scavenger hunt sounds very cool. I don't know who put that together, but
That was a grant from like Massachusetts Tourism. And there's a green team on that we need to promote.
yes.
What is it?
There's a scavenger hunt next week from Saturday. I haven't looked at it too closely, but I asked them to, I was really worried about people driving all over town quickly to try to get their scavenger hunt done. And so they came up with a way, there's a prize for kind of doing it by foot and by bike.
Is that the green?
So hopefully they don't get hit by the people driving around doing it by car.
Is that the
It's great.
green
It's like you
team
get an extra
extra?
prize if you do it, if your entire team does it in a green way. The communication came out from the town today,
All right, I haven't seen it yet.
or a Facebook or something. It was recent. But I had a feeling you had something to do with it, Julie. It sounds really cool.
Okay.
So I think
You
we
can
can
get
just
an
ask
extra
Concom what they're
$30
doing.
prize. Your
Yeah.
team can get like an extra gift card to a local business if you commit to doing entirely transportation without car.
And you know what? I would probably still beat most of the cars.
Mhm.
I get around just as fast on my bike.
What if your car is electric?
Oh no, still congestion.
That doesn't count?
I don't know. I haven't seen the rules. You guys know more than I do. I just know I asked for a green component. But yeah, I think we can ask Concom about that. I mean, I think all these things are important. Like, I think we just, somewhere we probably need to keep a running list of these. And then as Tiana, you can use them in community outreach. And like, I'm just looking on the website, like, I didn't realize we're giving out Charlie cards at town hall because of the shutdown. That's an awesome thing to know from an environmental standpoint. So.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely talk about that too. I mean, yeah, there's,
That'll be over by the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? 'Cause that's-
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about that. I'm just saying, like, I feel like just a quick kind of perusal of the website every now and then, a few things pop out to me that I didn't even know. And I'm pretty tuned in, so.
so I guess, Dan, how long does it take to make the signs?
Once I have all the information, it'll take me a day.
Okay. So what do people think about using these signs or not using these signs, coming up with new ideas? What do you want to, what are your thoughts?
I think they're good. I mean, I think that they're good and, they're diverse and, hopefully spawn, questions and discussions and interest. And, maybe we have more of another sign that's just a little bit more generic. That's like like Tiana said, follow us and, some of the high level things that ESC does.
Yeah.
But I think that they're eye-catching in terms of interest at a high level.
Yeah, one of the things that's really good is engagement. Instead of just a sign, kind of saying, "Oh, here we are. This is what we do, and aren't we great?" When you put this together, what you want to do is to is to present it in such a way that the person is engaged. They want to start to really understand what's going on and maybe even be a part of it. So when people make suggestions and stuff like that, you should keep that in mind.
Yeah, one thing I've seen done at things like this is kind of similar to the jar of ideas concept, but having something more like up on a board that people can do like sticky notes. And I think what's cool about that is it just gives everybody a chance to kind of like look and see what else is up there and maybe like add on to things. And that could be just asking people what they're sort of interested in general, or what they would like to maybe see the committee work on or focus on. If we tell them about the subcommittees or something like that, but that's another kind of engagement tactic.
Yeah. Trying to keep it low waste though.
Right. Actually, on that, also in the spirit of reuse, I was wondering if this one that you have up on the screen now, we could do it without the numbers printed on there, and then we wouldn't have to worry about updating
it. Yeah.
multiple.
Just put a
Yeah,
sticker over it.
Yeah, say, Dana, your signs, can you put like a dry erase on them?
Or you can get you can probably get like adhesive dry erase material or something that we could.
Well, no, so yeah, there's actually a paint that you can use for dry erase. Let's think about that whole thing and the best way to implement it, and so forth and so on.
I have a yay by yay whiteboard I could bring if we wanted to do ideas that people can, instead of post-it notes, let people write on a whiteboard some ideas. Although I think post-it notes, if we're going to recycle them afterwards, isn't a terrible amount of waste.
I like the idea of post-it notes on a map. Like, oh, I found out yesterday there's a rain garden on Albion Street. I didn't know that. It'd be neat to kind of put a few cool things around and that we could start, and then other people could say, yeah, but we need a water fountain here, or things that they do, things that they like that are already there, or things that they'd like to see. I think that's what we did, Myra, for the municipal vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Sustainable, I can't remember what committee that was, or maybe it was us. But the signage is great too. I think the map, that would be in addition to the signage probably. But I love the idea of not putting numbers on the signage. That's a great idea.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out, we want to highlight the things that are like, the numbers somehow, but I know the reuse is also beneficial. So we'll figure out
We could make a temperature thing and just use it for different things at different times, and then for if we want to highlight composting this time, which makes a lot of sense since we're getting closer to the 500, we could just do that, fill in it, put on paper or something like that.
You can up it as the people sign up, make them sign up right there and cross it out and up it. Wouldn't that be neat?
like
I mean, if someone has a tablet, you could, and if the DPW is there, they could sign up and get their bin right then and there.
Well, certainly at 101, they can do that too.
Yeah.
At Wakefield 101.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Hey, Robin.
I was trying to fill in, Robin, but I get distracted. So, but I'll send you what I have.
Oh, okay. I was just going to listen to the video, but that would be great.
So yeah, I would say think about ideas in the next, let's see where we at, a couple weeks maybe, so that we can make the signs like the last week of September in time for the farmers market on the 1st.
How big is the
Sound
table?
good? Farmers market.
It's a BYO table unless you ask for the manager's table. And if it's the manager's table, that's a standard folding table. So 6 feet.
So we can
And-
bring our own.
Well, unless you asked her to borrow, you know, so some nonprofits and groups asked to borrow the tent, the table, the chairs, others bring their own. So I don't know what you agreed with Anne Marie.
Oh,
So the.
They
Agree.
assume that you bring your, they assume you bring your own unless you request to have the managers, and then she has to know, you know, see if she has any left from other requests.
okay.
Well, the reason I asked the question is that, it kind of limits the number of signs that you have. I mean, these signs are, they're over a foot in width. And on a 6-foot table, maybe you could fit 4 or 5. That's the issue I'm bringing up. And if you
We
want to
put-
sign it, it would be a little bit difficult.
I wonder if you could attach some to like the edge of the table, potentially, maybe even attach them to one of the yard side frames, like the election signs that people put in their yards.
Yeah, the problem with that is people like signs at eye level. Looking down, crouching down and stuff like that. They actually just walk by and don't see them, type of thing. So it's just something to think about, that's all.
I also
Yeah,
know
I
how to mount a sign to a tent pole. I have that skill from my time at the manager's table.
And I've got a couple of easels if that helps.
Okay,
I mean, I know when we used to do Sustainable Wakefield, sometimes we just had too much stuff there, quite honestly, and it was a little overwhelming. So, we probably should decide on what we want there. 3 to 4 things, maybe.
And we're gonna have a clipboard, some sort of sign up for volunteers,
Yeah,
right? So we don't want that to be buried, and we'll probably want a little sign there that says, you
yeah,
want to volunteer, leave your name here.
yeah.
And then there was a mention of the QR code for signing up for the Facebook group. I had a question around that too. Are we allowed as a committee to maintain our own events listserv as well? Or is there some constraint on that?
That was among the questions I was gonna ask Jennifer when I meet with her next week.
Okay. Because if we could do that as well for people who, I mean, Facebook is kind of passive, right? People have to be on Facebook. And then if you don't choose the group as being a priority for you, then you might even miss things even after you subscribed, whereas email is more comfortable for some people, and it's a push technology, so it gets equal time, right? So yeah, so if that's something we could do, that might be a separate list we want to do at either or both of these events, but that would also take space and compete with attention.
Yeah, one of the things that we can do, because that's part of the problem, and this is, the educational thing, Tiana, is maybe we can have a handout that shows all of the websites and Facebook pages and stuff like that, the URLs, just to make it easier for people to, to access this information as well.
Yeah, I was thinking instead of a handout, because that generates waste and people take it and then they drop it on the ground or don't properly recycle it, that if we can get a simple page posted with the information, we can just have a QR code to a page that has the links to these different things and sign up.
Well, yeah, one of the ways of doing that, and I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure it can be done, is you can use the those code bars that they can then.
That's what I, yeah, a
picture of
QR
the
code.
photo,
Yes,
And
exactly.
they will have the URL and stuff like that, but
Precisely.
I think that there's an app that allows you to generate that, but I'll have to do some research on that.
Dan, I got it. That's in the purview of my committee. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
So what, are we thinking like the town website that we already have for ESC, we thinking something else?
That's probably the simplest for now, is like put some extra content on that and then generate a QR code that points to that link. And then we can have on there links to other things, links to Black Earth sign up, links to our Facebook page, anything like that.
And so you're gonna ask Jen about how we can update the website. Because we don't have access to like just doing it ourselves.
I'm sure we can put a few things, I'm sure we can have her help us put a few things on there.
Yeah,
Before.
yeah.
Yeah. It is fancier now than it's been before, because now the Wakefield ESC Facebook feed is, the most recent post from it is now reposted on the town thing. So we've set up a little, I assume it's a JavaScript thing or something to include that. So yeah, it'd be great if we could put more information there. I can offer, they're a little bit older. I have some iPads for events, for data collection stuff, and I could bring that. We would or drop them off to somebody. But we would just need to make sure we have somebody's running a hotspot if we wanted to allow people to do that. Just from other things I've done in my own work, I know that people are sometimes more willing to fill out a form when it's online or something, if they can pick up something on an iPad and just anything like that. Same thing with the thing about having the takeaways. It's better to get somebody's email address and then push information to them, less waste, much higher turnover rate once you start emailing them versus the number of people who will take something like a QR code and walk away and then do it later. If you don't get them at the moment, you lose most of them.
Right, even if we just, if we wanted people to give us their email address, even if we just do that on an iPad into a Google Sheet or something, just so that we're not later transcribing email addresses off of handwriting and losing half of them.
I think you should talk with Jennifer about this, but I think we can take email addresses, but they become public record. We have to be very careful how we manage them. And people need to know that when they give us their email address, it's becoming public record.
Mhm.
So just Jen will fill you in on all that.
Yeah, and one more thought about that whole thing. A lot of the young generation doesn't do email, they do texting. And if you're going to push something, pushing it by email and pushing it by text, there's quite a difference between the two.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
So just one last thing, who is able to help out with the different tables, just so I have a general idea of who can be there for the October 1st and October 8th tables.
I'll be there for the manage or the market.
Okay.
I have to work on the 1st, but I will be there on the 8th.
Okay.
I can do both, I think.
I
Great.
can take a shift on the 1st, but preferably later. Just because I know I'm coming back from a work trip the evening before, so.
Okay.
I have to talk to my social director and I will email you that information.
Okay.
Do we want to add the 20th to the list? I mean, I could do the 20th, which is the Wakefield 101. And then I could do setup for the 1st. The 1st is a little complicated for me, but and I think I can do the 8th.
Okay.
I'm out of town on the 20th, unfortunately.
I mean, we probably want 2 people at a time. So if we think of like the 1st and 8th as like, we can divide those up into 2 90-minute to 2-hour shifts, and then the event on the 20th is only an hour and a half, right? So I mean, it sounds to me like there might be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 shifts we need to cover if we want 2 people at all times, right? So I mean, if everyone takes 1 or 2, we're in good shape.
Yeah. Okay, maybe you should do like a doodle or something, just so we have it, the shifts lined up.
What's the time on the 20th?
6,
I
7:30.
think it's 6 to 7:30.
I am speaking on mute. Yes.
Okay. So I should send out a doodle for all these tables, probably to have it more organized. All right, I'll do that.
Just a question about the event on the 8th. It's on the Commons or is it at the? Okay.
Yeah.
And is there also a farmer's market on the 8th in the morning? I know that we're not tabling on the 8th, but
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
so there might be. Okay, so those are back-to-back events on the
Yeah.
8th, so there's. It's a good day out.
Yep, just go from place to place in Wakefield that day.
Well, is the town day the event that was, is the town day completely new, or was that like the event that was held in on
new.
Lower Main Street, south of downtown last year? There was
No,
something.
that was a one-off too last year.
Okay. But that had a similar feel with the beer garden.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
similar feel with the table. That was in the AmeriCal. I think that was like Halloween week.
Okay.
Oh, there was like the Main Street that was open.
It was down by Sweet Bay at the AmeriCal. I think the
I
table.
thought that was in the spring. I thought that was like a spring thing. I don't remember.
No, it was, I remember people coming in costumes. The kids were
Okay.
coming in
Yeah,
costumes, and there was the
Halloween.
beer garden in the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of put together, as we were coming out of COVID.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, we'll get to, well, we're hoping to get into kind of a cadence on these again. I hope that Town Day is becomes something.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. The next item is student member solicitation. So we had talked about that we need new student members and starting reaching out to them in September when school starts, which it just started. Myra, you said you had the information on that.
I do, and I can connect. So I hear our school committee representative is Eileen, so I can reach out to her too, as well as the school. Yes, and I have the draft of the one that the solicitation we've used in the past.
Okay.
So does it need to be it doesn't need to be reapproved, does it?
I would just send it to Sherry to be posted.
Okay. And then I think, do we want to, I mean, we could vote. I mean, we could review by our next meeting if we want to give people 3 weeks or something to respond. It's been a long time since we had openings because we had we had some openings, but all of our student representatives graduated last year. So what we did historically is we officially had 2 positions, and then we sort of took all the students who applied. So we ended up with about 4 students. I don't know if we think 4 is the right number, or we want to limit it, have less than that. Do people have thoughts on that, or do we want to not specify a number and give ourselves that flexibility?
I would say don't specify and take anyone who's good and excited about it. Particularly, I don't know how many different of the subcommittees, with this many subcommittees, I imagine at least several of them would like to have a student on them. So it'd be nice to not be fighting over the same 2 students.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's another thought on that thing, because we are implementing the volunteer type of thing. We could probably, if you want, if it's wanted, to limit the number of students so that, for whatever the reason, and then the rest of them can join in volunteers. But I'm not quite sure, from a legal standpoint of view, whether they are. It's okay as far as the town is concerned. When I had volunteers at the Museum of Science, they could, as long as, I think they had to be over 16 in order to volunteer.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any restrictions on it. I would just see how many come in.
Okay,
And I don't know about the timing. I know we're posting a lot of, we're voting on Monday night to post a lot of openings. And so Sherry might want to harmonize the timing on all of them at the same time and include
Okay.
this. So I don't know what the timing might be.
okay, I'll check in with her.
Historically, did like the student openings get pushed out to the students' emails through the school system?
I think historically what we did is we emailed it to the principal and to the science teacher, as well as potentially the teacher who led the recycling committee. I mean, so this was like, since we had Sophie and Addie for a couple years, they sort of helped us also internally to the high school, which we don't have now. And so that's why I want to check in with Eileen. And then, you know, I feel like I don't know the principal of the high school, but I'm happy to connect with her. For that, it's not a totally new request. So, and I think it is a good opportunity. I mean, I will say, and Dan and Tiana, you may be really great people to think about as you're thinking about engaging people. We have not done all that we can do with the potential of our student representatives. It was really great when we had one student who got really invested in the green up effort, and she really became a leader. And I felt like we saw like the potential of really activated students in that example. But it has been challenging. And so I do think we should think about going forward. And as we think about, and as we see students who might be interested, ways to really take advantage of that, because it's been a little bit challenging. And I may just edit and then I'll send it around the solicitation to encourage people to come with an idea of something that they want to pursue, as well as some idea of some of the things that we're working on, because you know, it's very exciting, and it's a great opportunity for students. And I think we all feel like we would love that energy, and that enthusiasm and sort of young people, but it's not yet realized its true potential.
Did we limit it to just high school students? Is that what we did before?
Yeah, I think I think there is an age minimum. And it's also like this time, middle school maybe, but I think.
I'm trying to see whether when we voted on it, if we said ex officio, age 15 to 18, if you look at the appointments, one ex officio non-voting member. So actually it's just one, sorry, high school student. But I think we've gone and appointed more. It's just that it just has to come through the town council to get appointed. So if we can make the recommendation as to who we would have, and then it will come to the town council to make the appointment. But I agree with you. And then we'd roll the rest over into volunteers if need be. It'll be similar. Volunteers are going to be very similar because they're ex officio. They don't vote anyway. I would just also copy it to the youth council as well.
Oh, yes. Good idea. Thank
One
you.
of the things about, you know, from the student standpoint of view and the volunteering standpoint of view, what we were thinking about was to kind of link them with different subcommittees and so forth and so on, so that they have more of an active role, specific role in their activities and so forth and so on. So we can, you know, we can probably do the same type of thing that we do with that we're thinking of doing with the volunteers with the students.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so, Myra.
I'm
do you
on
want-
it. I found it. I have it. I will edit it and then send it to anybody who might have comments. Send, with the open meeting law. And then I will get it out to Sherry.
Okay,
I'll just
awesome.
tell her it's coming.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to updates from subcommittees. So first one is waste reduction. Tiana and I met last week. And we did meet in the library in the front room, in person, in the flesh. And then we had the Zoom meeting on the laptop, just, recording the whole thing right in front of us, and it worked out well. So any other subcommittees that want to do that, I think you're welcome to do so. Just, making sure that you're hooked up to Zoom and it's all being recorded and all that. So we had talked about all the different waste reduction accomplishments that the town has been doing, and our short and long-term goals. The short term was basically to work on compliance of the plastics and styrofoam bylaws, as well as continuing with the Galvin recycling program and making sure that we add paper to that program. And then long-term is rolling out composting to elementary schools, as well as we had talked about doing a survey to businesses, working with the Chamber of Commerce to kind of get the lay of the land as far as how the businesses are complying with the bylaws and what kind of takeout materials they're using, just so we can kind of see where everybody's at in a more organized way instead of just going door to door. So we will talk to the chamber about helping us out with getting that out. And we also talked about recycling education. And I did reach out to Republic Services about coming to one of our meetings to talk about, we had talked about this at a previous meeting, just learning more about recycling economics and, any type of questions that we have. And so the public services reps was, happy to come to our next meeting. And I had also asked her about coming to the Galvin to do a presentation as well. And so she was game for both of those, which is great. So yeah, I'm hoping that she can come to our October meeting or maybe the meeting after to talk to us. And
That would be a great thing to further promote. I know our agenda goes out, but just to let folks know that we'll be having a special educational guest. In case folks want to join, even just for that part.
I mean, for the table or social media?
I was just thinking social media, just post that, hey, on our agenda in, the week, in the meeting next week, or whenever it's going to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Did I miss anything, Tiana?
We talked about recycling at
Yes.
larger residential buildings, which are not through the town recycling, and just what ideas we can come up with for how to move towards solving that.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of our long-term goals. Because so the units of 4 or more buildings are not serviced by the town for recycling. It has to do with the town is not able to get onto those properties because they're considered private to basically take care of their trash and recycling. So we have some different ideas of getting around that rule, and that's one of the things that we'll be trying to push for. All right. Were you gonna say something, Julie?
I was just gonna, I talked to town hall today, and the 2 new health inspectors will be on in the next couple of weeks, and they're gonna be taking over compliance of the plastics. And so Melissa, we can kind of put any time out, like the last week of September, first week of October, to meet with them.
Awesome.
So I'm sorry I
Thank
didn't
you.
follow up with you on that. I got it done late this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. That's great. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Land Protection Committee.
Thank you. Yeah, we met yesterday online. And our meeting was Julie, Myra, and Judy Green. So our main task was just kind of to choose some priorities, identify priorities for the coming year. So have a list here that I'll share, and Myra, Julie, please just chime in with any notes on any of these. But one, we just wanted to reach out to some other towns where there's more developed recreational. We've talked a fair amount about recreational land use as a way of increasing awareness of these opportunities, increasing the appreciation of town residents for open space in the town. So reaching out to some neighboring towns to just see where things have been supported, where they've gotten resources for things, where there's maybe more trail development, signage, things like that. If that has come from foundations, been funded by the town, etc. Judy already has a lot of institutional knowledge about what some neighboring towns have done, the ones that she's been in more touch with. We've also talked about connecting with the volunteers, and Dan, this would be a place for coordination, and really trying to identify a set of trail volunteers. And the idea is that the trail volunteers would walk the trails, maybe do minor maintenance things themselves, like pick up garbage, move something out of the way, cut back poison ivy that's growing into a trail. And then for anything else, would identify things that we would pass along to the town, to DPW or whomever else that might need, if there's something that needs some equipment in there to remove or something like that. So again, that seemed to be something where we could increase the quality of what we already have, as well as increase awareness. Public outreach and working with Tiana and the community ed subcommittee, and really this I think is more around the social media strategy than any other thing, but distributing information on public lands in town, where there are opportunities, things you can use, where there are opportunities being utilized that should not be used, such as inappropriate or illegal use around Crystal Lake. So just a little bit of community education around land use there. And then more generally also about the need for open space and things like ecosystem services and the types of things that open space in the town does or could provide in terms of resilience. And then supporting and interfacing with the Conservation Committee and the Planning Board and those processes. I'm hoping to get on the Open Space Committee as the ESC's representative from that, although somebody else really wants to do that. I'm not possessive about it, but otherwise I'm happy to do that. And just generally increasing our cooperation with that. And a question on there, I thought actually that Judy was going to join us today. Was it today we had talked about her doing a primer like on what the Conservation Committee does, or is that?
She came on in the beginning, but I didn't have a slot for her on the agenda to just confirm with her beforehand, but I didn't have her email. So it was basically like, in the beginning, we'll put you on the agenda, we'll have a slot for you instead of just public participation or whatever. So she said that was fine. I have her email address to let her know when the next.
That's another thing we should publicize, because I think a lot of people will be interested to know what the Conservation Commission does.
So she said she was willing to do that. So yes, let's get that on the agenda for one of these, and absolutely agree that we should publicize that. And then Judy has also agreed to kind of join the land use subcommittee meetings at least for the time being, and participate in that. So that's great, because she's, been in that role for 21 years or something, more than that. So really, you know, we don't want to do anything without having her input, I think, to make sure that we're being effective and not stepping on toes. And so another thing we talked about, this was kind of mine, but it's just some trail mapping where there are recreational opportunities. A really easy one with all trails, and just making sure that we get those things on all trails, which I don't know if anyone else uses that, but that's kind of a way of searching for trails. Wakefield things, there's only 2 Wakefield things on there. One is walking around Lake Q, and I forget what the other one is. So getting some of those things on there, and that trail mapping could then also be used, for example, for volunteers. If you walk in with the All Trails app, then it's very easy to just have the GPS coordinates of here's where we need to come in with the saw and you know, do some maintenance or something.
Yeah, I know that the Breakheart trails are on all trails, but yeah, not the more like locally local trails.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on the town forest on all trails, for example.
Yeah.
And another thing, and Myra, you can chime in on this because this was you championing it. You were speaking for the trees. That just also talking to the planning board more around trees, and this could both be trying to be advocates for what we do with trees on open space, as well as an educational role about maybe educating the more general population about what types of trees they should be looking at when they're planting trees, things like that. So Myra, do you want to say more on that?
To the extent that we're sort of thinking about how to engage other people in our community who have an interest, who have come to us with interest. I know that this is an issue that there are several people in town that are very interested in. And people have come forward to us, and they've come forward to the Gas and Light when they were offering to plant trees around promoting native trees. I think with the drought, I think we're seeing the impact of non-native trees a little bit more than maybe native trees in terms of sort of surviving the drought. And so I just think it's worth a conversation if the planning board is already revising their processes according to Judy. And so that was just an idea that came up. And, you know, not that any of us have I don't have the expertise. Not that any of us necessarily do, but that there are people who have made themselves known having that expertise and sharing that opportunity a little bit more broadly.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about those trees from the utility and who was taking care of them during the drought.
It was so the trees were the last program were provided to the owners of the properties. So it was incumbent on those folks to take care of them.
Okay.
And I think the idea is also just to make sure that the list of approved trees takes into account sort of the broader ecosystem and native trees to the extent that it's feasible, acknowledging that you know, there are other considerations also, but finding that balance, and that native trees can have maybe a broader range of benefits than non-native trees to our overall ecosystem.
Another item we discussed was Butler Ave, which of course we've talked about in this group before, the 11-acre property that the town purchased for remediation purposes and what's happening next with that. There's an opportunity, obviously, for some of that to be maintained as open space. There's an interest perhaps in selling some of that to recoup some of the costs. I think where probably the sweet spot for us would be because this will be coming up at town meeting or other places, is just to increase awareness on this. And so rather than not taking a position, not trying to stake out some particular plan that we're promoting, but rather just to let people know that this is there, and to, in particular, to use our social media strategy and other things to get people who might be interested at those relevant meetings when decisions are being made. And you know, because there's obviously a lot of opportunity there. Again, I think just increasing as somebody who's found it tough to find information about things going on in the town in the past, I think increasing information about that is a good one that's relevant for open space and land use in the town. We had some discussion about pollinators and also the, the role of pollinators and the use of open space in supporting pollinators. There's a group at Tufts that's actually been doing a lot of pollinators, so I just thought that could be something, trying to connect with that group or other groups around technical assistance, and again, maybe providing information. And more broadly, sustainable landscapes of all types, but pollinators seem to be a concrete item that we could focus on initially. Some discussion of just things at the lake, whether there are funds there. I know there are other groups that care about the lake and the use of the lake, so that's a crowded space and maybe more ambitious than we have bandwidth for initially, but we should keep that in mind. So my goal with the subcommittee was to have a list of things that was not too far reaching or too ambitious that we couldn't do them. And I'm worried that maybe the list is already bigger. Any one item seems okay, but it's a big list. So we're not looking to necessarily grow the list initially, but rather make some headway on a few of these things. And of course, a lot of these do intersect with volunteers or the communication strategy and community outreach. We'll meet again on October 5th at 7:30 in the library. We got a report on how things went with waste reduction. So I've reserved the trustees room upstairs, and we'll do the same thing with the laptop open. And last thing I'll say, and then I promise I will stop talking, is in case people aren't aware with all of the subcommittees, the subcommittee recordings that are made on Zoom are actually being posted automatically to the YouTube page and are accessible through the town's ESC page. It's not completely obvious how to get to it, so I don't think it's something that a lot of people are going to stumble on, but just we should all be aware that these recordings are actually being posted and are accessible. So behave like you're on stage is what I realized. Yeah, when I realized that right before our meeting yesterday, I just didn't think twice about what I say and how I say it. So, so any case, if anyone has any questions or comments on that, I realize that was quite a bit of time. So
you said they were on the ESC website? I didn't even check.
yeah, the most recent one kind of shows up by default as town recording. So normally you would think it'd be the recording of this, but when there's a subcommittee, it just gets put in that feed. And then there's a spot where you right click and you can see a list of all the recent recordings. So every subcommittee recording is linked, it gets pushed down the list when there's a next
so
one.
it's not specifically on our site, it's just on the general town.
Yeah, I can send you a link in case you're interested about it. But
It's also on the, I just go to WCAT usually. It's on their YouTube channel. Super easy to search. And you'd be surprised how many people watch even the minor committee meetings.
yeah, so if you go to meeting agendas, no, it's not there. There was.
No,
I'll send you the link.
I just found under videos.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
meeting videos.
Meeting videos, yeah. Yeah, so
So
by
the
default.
education subcommittee videos there.
Yeah, so every few days a new one gets that top
Okay.
spot. So yes, so the community education subcommittee meeting from a week and a half ago is in the top spot, but then there's where you see there are 3 bars in the upper right of the recording there. You click on that and get a list of the most recent recordings. And then you can also go to the WCAT page and find them all. But just the point I wanted to share with everyone is be aware that these recordings are not being passively stored on a town server somewhere. They are more readily findable by the general public. So
Gotcha. Thank you. Good to know. Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you guys, if you had any talk about like the upcoming fall season, and there's been a lot of I guess kind of maybe what's right or wrong to do as far as breaking your leaves. Is there any talk about that? Or using leaf blowers, noise pollution, that type of thing?
we didn't really talk about that. I think and even just the name you have here, land protection, I think we've seen ourselves more as land use with focus on the public lands in town. So that's not really something we talked about, not that it's unimportant. Just letting you know how we've framed kind of our focus for now.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next is Building Efficiency Committee.
So while there's been no subcommittee meeting, just an update on the projects. So Northeast Vocational School ended up having a meeting in August. I found out about it after the fact. But having talked to the owner's project manager, I asked, what was presented from a sustainability standpoint, and they basically have shared what Tom and the Gas and Light Department has been saying of the project, of what changes they did as a result of it. They've also, in the last month, submitted their design development package. So there's lots of steps with the state agency on deliverables and design development, DD, as we call it, is the next step. Just to compare it, the high school is just in schematic. So they're in SD, but they submitted their design development project, which includes summaries of systems. It talks about going electric. I was just scanning it because it is available online. They are seeing themselves to include a 325 kilowatt solar photovoltaic panel array on the building, which is fantastic. And they're they're trending to a silver for LEED, so which is great. It's not the highest, but we'll take it. It's above the minimum. So
That's for the high school?
No, that's the vocational school.
Okay.
Sorry. The driveway, the new driveway is still in the project, in case folks hadn't heard. The efforts to date have not been successful to have that re-examined by some residents, as far as I can tell from a public standpoint. The high school, on the other hand, is in schematic. I saw a bunch of you guys, your names on the meeting. So August 31st was their public information forum that talks both about sustainability and design. They talked about a lot of things without actually showing how they're going to implement it, but that's kind of where they are in the process. That makes sense. They also noted the Gas and Light Department working with them on, the system there. They're currently also silver, but with more points than Northeast Vocational School. Looking at one thing they did talk a lot about is their window to wall ratio. So, thinking about the building envelope and even going as far as maybe there's a group based out of originally Germany called Passive House, and it is another certification you can actually get, but it's a testing and it's a kind of a philosophy of how well you envelope a building, how much you wrap it so you don't waste energy leaking. And so they are using those strategies as they design and detail the building, which is awesome to hear, because a lot of those strategies, if done correctly, do not cost more, but from a life cycle cost is where we'll see the benefit, because you're not leaking out your heat or your cooling. And so those are those benefits. I'm just scanning my notes from it in terms of things that might be of interest for folks.
One of the takeaways I heard secondhand from the event on the 31st was that the anticipated energy use of the new high school building is 1/3 of the current energy use of the current building, which I think, even though the building itself is larger, which I thought was
and more impressive with that number is the new building will have air conditioning. The existing building does not. So when you just frame that in perspective, it is massively more efficient.
So good news. I mean, there's a lot still to be developed. There's questions in terms of quantity of parking and concerns on having too much asphalt, but not enough parking, you know, those typical battles. So I think they're definitely seeing the right things. We'll see if they are able to implement it as lots of competing needs are reviewed and developed.
And then just to expand on Robin's point on the solar array on both schools, the solar array is, both arrays are being provided by Wakefield Gas and Light, and those are contingent on the energy park being built. So, you know, if the energy park is not built, then those solar arrays would not necessarily come from Gas and Light.
So is it like a PP? So you guys would own it and then they would
so the way
rent it,
that,
the PP?
yes,
Or okay.
correct. So the energy park is going to do, it has a couple of features. It's going to be a microgrid that connects both the buildings. It's fed by our two substations. The energy park will take life safety generation from the schools, so that there is both the savings of not having to put the diesel fired generators, and then there is the environmental benefit of not having those generators on site at each of those buildings. As part of the schools agreeing to go to electric, Gas and Light, as part of the energy park, is going to put approximately 250 kW. I guess the roof for the tech is has a lot of different angles and things, so that system is actually going to probably be around 235. And then based on some of the schematics that they've seen for the Wakefield High, that actually might be bigger than 250. The agreement that is going to be put in place is that the schools will get the power that the panels produce. So anything that they use while they're producing, they'll get that. That'll be a cost offset for them. Any excess, it will be owned by Gas and Light, and that'll feed back into the microgrid, the energy park, to charge. We're putting in a 5 megawatt battery in the park as well, so that'll be there to charge. And then any excess just comes back on the grid and is just a benefit for all of the customers of Gas and Light. And then also as part of the energy park will be a natural gas generator to satisfy the life safety mandates. So that kind of replaces the two diesel generators, more capacity, and can also be potentially used as a peaking resource during the high peak demand days.
How big a system is that going to be, Tom?
That's a 3 megawatt.
And that will be like, will you get capacity payments on that? You'll
We
bid that
will.
into
We
the
will be
capacity
getting.
market?
We'll get capacity off of both the battery
And will that be a long-term contract, like, or is that something that can be reassessed on a regular basis if there's something to replace it with?
a long-term contract. So I think it has to be part of at least the life safety mandates.
Right. Until those change, maybe until maybe those can be met with battery or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Life safety
essentially the light department
requires natural
sorry,
gas?
Melissa?
I was gonna say the life safety, it requires natural gas.
No, life safety requires power. So life safety, you have to have generation for the schools for life safety, and generally those are diesel. So both schools had in their line items diesel generators and the tanks on site as part of that MSBA. So we're taking that over. So
life safety can't be battery backup?
It can. I don't know if every part of life safety can, but there are parts of life safety that can go battery. But the duration it needs to run leads to very big batteries. Operationally,
Okay.
for swap out, I mean, when I say components, every exit sign can have a battery, or you can tie it to something bigger. When you do individual batteries, you can imagine what it would mean if they have to swap out the 100 and 200 that are in a building. So there's
Yeah.
pieces of it, but they're looking, in my opinion, correctly, system-wide, which then means you need a storage of something that can hold you for, days as opposed to an hour to exit the building or something.
I guess I think it'll be interesting just to look at the emissions from running a natural gas very often, because you guys will run it fairly often if it's going to be a peaker versus, I mean, it's probably still cleaner than putting the diesel backups on the school.
Correct. Yeah. So it's around the duration that the MSVA requires. And then it is much cleaner because, a life safety generator just doesn't sit idle. They're generally run at least once a week for testing and runtime purposes. So the carbon emissions are a lot less than the natural gas that would be there. And I guess I'll give the update on that. So really the next part is around the energy park is going to require an easement, and that will be on the town meeting warrant for November as well. And so the Gas and Light has been doing in contact with both design teams on a weekly basis. And then kind of the next steps will be the presentation to town council. And then there'll also be an online kind of question and answer session for the public following the town council update.
Great. Do you know when you're coming to town council?
It has not been determined, but I think they're targeting the end of this month.
So if the easement is approved at town meeting, then the project is a go, or is there a next step?
Correct. Yeah. So, the easement would be the next step. And then both schools, would need to sign kind of a countersigned agreement between the schools, each school and the light department around the T's and C's. There's a memorandum that was, I think it was in the latest public version of the memorandum was either in the June or July board book of the agreements. That's the things that Gas and Light are going to provide to each of the schools. So they're almost kind of identical. So Gas and Light's also providing EV chargers for each of the schools, educational benefits to both schools, especially the VOC as well.
Okay. Thank you. Robin, anything else?
Can I just add on schools? Somebody brought up the question about composting in the kitchen, and I've gotten some follow-up inquiries from just community members, one of which I just copied to the ESC. So when you get that, Melissa, you can probably just, and I happened to run into Chip Tarbell from the permanent building. He said they're not even looking at that yet, but they will when the time comes.
Great, thank you. Dan, anything on the volunteer? I think you were just waiting for the policy update, right?
Right. I was waiting for the policy upright, so I really don't have anything to say at this point in time, but I will update everybody on the next meeting.
Okay, thanks. Chris, anything on the greenhouse gas inventory? I know we haven't met yet for a subcommittee.
Yeah, no meeting yet. Balls on my court to coordinate with you, Melissa, and others on scheduling a meeting for that. I think we had identified sort of the next step or short-term goal being to think about the appropriate sort of framework or tool to use to kind of get started on the inventory. But there were two that we were looking at. One is EPA kind of designed Excel spreadsheet based tool geared toward local municipalities. So that seems like it's a good fit. There was another I'd seen, which was created by the MAPC, Metropolitan Area Planning Council. And I think it was the town of Natick and maybe Melrose that sort of collaborated.
Arlington, maybe?
And Arlington.
Yeah.
That developed that. So I thought that I haven't looked at that one as much, So I think that would be kind of our next step, but we would plan to meet and I think sort of just review those and I guess finalize which one to use and then start to map out the data sources and sort of how to begin collecting all that data. It covers scope 1, 2, and it does have scope 3, which is I think more considered optional, more of the indirect or induced emission sources, upstream and downstream. But we could look at that and include whatever is feasible. So yeah, it's going to probably be a lot of data collection and making contacts with appropriate parties across the town and other departments. But those are our next steps.
Okay, great. Yeah, let me know what worked for you as far as the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, next is Green Communities. Julie, any updates there?
We submitted, hallelujah.
Yay.
It's been a long haul. We got it in, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago. Jen Calais is really taking the lead on it. She and I kind of both got the application in and she's taking the lead on all the follow-up from the Department of Energy Resources. They've had a number of questions about our fleet inventory, but I don't think there's anything major. So fingers crossed we will get through the process and hopefully become a green community by the end of the year. So at which time I know I still need to kind of put in the goals and set up the committee. And I do want to have a committee on this because there's going to be a fair amount of follow-up. And I have to say, this is probably the biggest grant for the town that's kind of been volunteer run, where we were really the ones who stood up and pushed it. And so we need to make sure that somebody who's kind of unpaid staff is also taking responsibility for it. But I think that they're going to need guidance from this committee to do so. So I will get all of that. But fingers crossed, we're late, but we're in. So we had a little bit of a scare right before the end of the legislative session where there was a chance they were going to change the rules and take away the loophole that was letting in muni utilities. So we seem to have dodged that. It got a little dicey there, but hopefully we'll get good news here soon.
Do we know when we hear?
I think I think the deadline, technically the deadline is like the end of this month. So I think in October, they'll start formally reviewing things. But we have such a great relationship with DOER. They've been with us every step of the way at town meetings that they're kind of making sure that our application is fully ready. But I would hope by October.
Great, that's awesome.
So thanks to everybody who's helped with that.
Thank you for putting it forward.
We should have done it a long time ago, but we're getting it done.
Yeah. Last is community education.
Yeah, so we've already touched on some of the stuff that we're doing, but me and Sean, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, and worked out some goals and just sort of the types of activities that we want to be doing as a committee. And a lot of it really is around posting and getting new info out there and making sure that, for instance, new residents can find information easily and that we're just amplifying all of the great stuff that's going on. We have a goal of posting 8 to 10 social media posts per month. So I've written out a schedule of the September posts, and so we've done 2 posts, and I have another one teed up that I was going to do at the end of this meeting. Wanted to see if there was anything more pressing or exciting that came up today to post, but we've got a set of things drafted that we can post throughout the month. Some of them are timely about things like come see us at the farmers market, and about there's a recycle waste. Hazardous waste. I knew there's a word for that. I was gonna say hard to recycle stuff. Hazardous Waste Day, also October 1st. So some of the things that we're gonna post are gonna be about an upcoming event or an upcoming meeting, while others are just things like, did you know you can bring your cardboard to Nahant? Did you know you can, which was the most recent one, did you know you can sign up for the Green Choice program through Municipal Gas and Light, like that sort of thing. So I would love, my call to action is please everyone on the other committees, send me things as they come up, especially if they're timely. But if you have things that aren't timely, that's great too. I wanted to sort of have a hopper of, you know, the next 10 things to post, so that at any point, if things are, you know, getting quiet, we can, you know, just share things that even if they're old news, you know, don't use straws. We can, you know, send messages out pretty often and just start to make this a little more lively of a page. So send things my way. I'll add them to the list. If you have things that are timely, please let me know when you want them posted. And then, yeah, we'll work on getting the page, our actual web page on the town site a little more beefed up with information, and then start promoting people to go there when they are looking for something as well. We're eager to get a student member and talk about how we can reach younger audiences as well through different media types. And I'm meeting with Jennifer, the town communication person, next week to ask some of the questions about, you know, what restrictions on the ways and methods of communicating. She gave me the basics on the Facebook before handing me the keys to post, you know, but anything else we need to keep in mind for how we're communicating and what, and stuff like that. So that's us.
Yeah, those Facebook posts are awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Did you like the picture of the cardboard boxes in my basement? I've started to
Yes.
look for like a stock photo of cardboard boxes, and I thought, you know, I have a set of them in my basement ready to go to the hot.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, hopefully we can get, you know, more people to sign up to the group as well, at the tables that we're doing. So that's one thing we should push to, just joining the Facebook group.
We had talked about, and Tiana, did you try this from the account yet about reposting things to the 2 largest town interest Facebook groups? I shared the first 2 posts just as an individual. Can we share it from the town?
I had not yet. I'd wanted to check with Jen before doing that wasn't going to get my keys taken away.
Okay, yeah. So because that expands our reach to 10 or 15,000. So it'd be nice if it can go in under Wakefield ESC. So it says Wakefield ESC shared this. Otherwise, I'll keep doing it. But then I'm just looking like the one-trick pony who keeps sharing the sustainability.
Well, Sean, I did it too. So I think there's 2 tricks in there.
Okay, good. So, but that expands our reach to 10.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
10,000 in one, 15,000 in the other.
Totally. And it would be, you know, if we can't share it from the ESC page specifically, or have the ESC account share it, then we might just want to have, sort of you know, a group of us, you know, different individuals share it at different times. So.
Yeah, one of the things, at least my experience, and I don't know why, so, you know, I have a page for, as an elected official, I can't directly share any content I create into those pages. I have to be an individual of how Facebook categorizes me. So I share as my personal, I share that post that I posted as on my, you know, my official commissioner page that I have.
So like Tiana could potentially share it, but from the ESC page can't.
Yeah, it's kind of and it's a kind of a Facebook jail in a way. It's definitely a Facebook thing. One thing that I have noticed or done is you know, the admins of the pages, especially for official town stuff, will share it as themselves and pin it so it's at the top as well. So you can reach out to those folks if those are something you want to get shared. If, you know, for whatever reason the ESC page can't share directly, and I don't know all the ins and outs of what can and can't share to a community versus a person being able to share it.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, I know that in the past, I think Jen, I think Jen is the person who does all the town of Wakefield posts. And I think she shared some of our posts before onto the Town of Wakefield's posts, so. But that's only if she like comes across them, or, I mean, we could tell her, I don't know, to figure out the best way. Great, thank you. So moving on to member groups, we don't have a student member yet. I did invite Eileen from the school committee, but she wasn't able to make the meeting tonight, so hopefully she can come to the next one. We don't have anybody.
Melissa, can you give me her full name offline, just so I have it in the notes?
Yes.
Thank you.
And no one from DPW is on. Julie, anything from town council?
Not really. We only have one meeting in August, so I don't think there's much more coming up. We will be talking about the ARPA funding and use of that coming up in a couple of months, pushing hard for a water truck. But if there's other things as well that we want, we can put some requests in.
A water truck?
We're talking about, you know how the MRW has the water truck that they bring in? We're gonna try to get one for Wakefield. I've been asking. So
Oh,
I think we're gonna have a Wakefield water truck that comes to
Like
all
to-
events.
oh,
So what would
good.
happen is, like, we would tell everybody who has big events on the lake, do not bring water. We will bring our water truck and bring water bottles. So
Awesome.
I'm super excited about that. I hope that we get, that's a big ask that we have.
What about just the refill stations around town for?
And some,
water?
yeah, and some refill stations too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
I
like the one at the top of the lake, I noticed is barely working. It works for the dogs. It doesn't
Yeah,
work for the
there's no
people.
working water fountains anywhere.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I know came up in the last time we put a big map out. So yes, that is also on the list. Okay. But I really don't have anything for town council. This one.
Okay. Cool. Tom, anything?
Yeah, outside of the high schools, Gas and Light's actually been very busy. Kind of in no particular order, but next meeting for Gas and Light, the commissioners are going to be reviewing our yearly review of the energy efficiency program. So if there's any members of the public that want to, send feedback, suggestions, what they'd like to see, do so, and always feel free for public comment. We'd love to have people on our meeting. We did kind of in the middle of the year introduce the battery powered lawn equipment. I hear that is has been really successful. Kind of along the EE program, we are also starting to develop, potentially with ARPA funds. We're going to submit an application for ARPA funds for an enhanced low income / renter / landlord energy efficiency program to target those folks. That is a fairly harder segment for energy efficiency programs. And so, instead of doing kind of fuel assistance, let's kind of address the problem of, low efficiency in those buildings and the barriers that come along with that. There's going to be construction of another DC fast at the head of the lake for EV charging that should complete sometime in this fall. Also around EVs, we are starting to develop it'll be another option. We discussed it in our last meeting last night, in a time of use EV rate. So stay tuned on that. So essentially there'll be a lower rate during off peak and a higher rate during peak periods. So it's really it's a balance of the behavior of making sure that vehicles charge during appropriate times and not charge more, especially during inappropriate times. Again, that'll just be another option that we will offer. Gas and Light is also leading the way in EVs, for the town. We have 2 more vehicles coming in. They have been delayed because of supply chain, but we'll have a truck, an F-150, and we're going to have a PHEV bucket truck. So you see the bucket trucks out there. When the line workers are up in the buckets, the vehicle has to be running, so it's kind of idling. What the PHEV does is that bucket runs on battery, so where the engine is not idling during that time. So pretty cool. In front of the cemetery on North Ave, we're going to be moving, this is a town project, be moving the poles back for the construction of a new sidewalk and a bike lane. Unfortunately, our community solar and the gas and light building solar have been delayed due to supply chain constraints as well. Probably targeting late fall, early winter for those systems to come online. And we're still developing what does the community solar look like and how do people participate in that. Also on solar, the second DPW solar array, so the pumping building came online in July. So lots of things going on, lots of, I think, great work. Any questions?
So there's another array on the water building?
Yes, so the first array was on the garage. So as you're coming down Broadway, that's the garage was kind of on your right. You see those panels facing you. The pumping building is a little bit set back, and it runs perpendicular to Broadway. And so those arrays are online. The dashboard, so the first arrays have a dashboard that's public. You can go see the dashboard. For the second array is not online. There's an internet connectivity issue that the town IT is working through at the moment. But when that does get online, the public will be able to also see the output of that array.
What's the general size, Tom? Can you give us like a pre?
They were identical, almost, I want to say. Hold on.
And this was state funds, right?
Correct. It was actually 2 parts. It was a grant. So I think they're 20 kW. So the one on the garage is 20, and I believe the pumping station is right around the same size. So we were able to get another grant through our legislators, and then Gas and Light matched that grant as well to install that. So essentially, from a perspective of an install cost, the rebate from Gas and Light plus the grant made the system essentially free to the town in that aspect.
Did you say you were gonna add solar to the utility building?
Correct. So on top of 480 North Ave, there's 2 solar projects that are under construction now. They're just delayed. The first one is community solar. So the community solar will be, there's folks that rent in a condo, don't have good roof positionality for solar, we'll be able to purchase into that. We haven't developed exactly how the mechanisms of that will work. There's a bunch of different ways community solar can be offered. So that's one part of the system. The other part is they're 2 separate systems. The second system is, again, leading by example. The Gas and Light is installing solar arrays to feed its own building and to offset its own power usage at the building.
So both projects on the roof of the building?
Yep, correct. Both projects are on top of 480. And those are, I want to say, those are actually pretty large systems. Hold on, I have that detail here in my notes. So the building is 108 kW and the community is 120.
That's awesome. Yeah, once you figure out the community solar, will definitely help spread the word.
Absolutely, yeah. And in the meantime, anyone that wants to participate, I default to the subscribe to the green rate. If you for whatever reason you can't do solar, not a good siting, the green rate is always a good alternative as well.
All right, thank you. So our next meeting would be October 13th. Does anybody have conflicts with that? All right. Any matters not anticipated? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All right, Dan,
Yes.
Sienna,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Julie,
yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Myra.
Yes,
All right, thanks, everybody.
night.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.